when you hear people tell their stories, like, you just love them. When you get to hear somebody be authentic and vulnerable, like, you just cannot help but love them so freaking much. It's incredible. And then to hear them sing after that, it just amps up that vulnerability 10 times. It amps up that vulnerability so much and melts all barriers. It melts your whole heart. And you're just like, I love you now. You are now integrated into as part of me. Like, I just cannot help but, like, it's an indescribable feeling. And so that's what we're doing with these keynote concerts. It's like sharing your soul with people, and then you sing. And then you sing, and then it's like, oh yeah, this is how we fix the world.
Join me, 'cause I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, oh, oh, oh. I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine, I'm seeking sunshine. Welcome to Seeking Sunshine, Do What Lights You Up, a podcast for passionate, creative moms who are ready to live their best life and be their full, lit-up selves while being amazing moms, because it's possible to be both. It turns out that you don't have to lose yourself in motherhood, and I'm here to show you how. This is Seeking Sunshine 2.0, because we are no longer focusing on the problems, but on the solutions. It's your turn to shine. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Seeking Sunshine podcast. As always, I'm so happy that you are here. It really makes my day that you come and you listen to my show. And I don't want to have a huge long intro today because today is a solo episode where I'm going to tell you the amazing story of my retreat. And so you're going to hear a lot from me today. And I decided that like the first episode of every month is going to be a solo episode because I wanted to make sure that my podcast had more of me in it. Because I felt like after this whole year, what I really learned was that after having so many guests, that they're incredible. I love guests, guys. Like, talking to people on my podcast is one of my favorite things in the whole world. But I felt like I had kind of lost the me part of my show, so I wanted to include more of me in my show. Like, I started a podcast so I could share my stories, and I felt like that was kind of missing. So today's episode, I talk about my retreat. And now this might sound like, oh yeah, Karaleigh went on a retreat. This is a really great episode with some really deep insights. I even cry. Like, it gets really personal and really deep, and I'm telling you, it's worth a listen. It's got some really amazing parts to it. So in this episode, we're going to talk about finding a greater perspective, showing up with the right energy, and how it affects the people around us. That's a really good story. How storytelling like this one and how music can change the world. Like, for real. And then how we can allow ourselves to be loved in our messiness. And that's the part where I break down and cry, because it's really powerful. And it's sort of like, it is the story of the retreat that I got to go on, but it's almost like a bunch of little vignettes, because that's what our lives are, right? It's a bunch of little stories all put together. So here we are, the story of my retreat.
tell you guys about the amazing retreat that I got to go on this weekend. So I have never been on a retreat in my life. This was my first retreat, and I've actually never been away from my kids. Aurora is 13 now, so that was a really big deal for me. Last year when was it last year? I think it was actually 2 years ago. Maybe even more than 2 years ago, when my brother-in-law got married, my husband went off to his wedding and had a grand old time, and we couldn't find a babysitter. So I stayed here with the kids while he went off to the wedding. He also went to a week-long work training session on the other side of the country. So we've had a few times where it was just the kids and I, but this was the first time where it was just dad and the kids, and mom got to leave. So this was quite an adventure. I also haven't flown in about a decade. This is the last time I flew. I think Joshua was almost 1. I think it was April of, let's see, he was born in 2011, so it would have been April of 2012 was the last time I flew. So I guess that makes it more than a decade. Was the last time that I was on an airplane. So that was a fun adventure. And so this retreat was for a class I've been taking. I've been in a mastermind to do something called keynote concerts, which is, you've probably heard me talk about it because it's been a huge part of my life for a bit now. You know that with my podcast, Seeking Sunshine, I love talking to people. And my dream has been to get on stages and talk to people in real life because I love feeding off of other people's energy, and talking to people on stage is like this huge dream of mine. And I've actually been speaking on stage more and more lately, and it is amazing. I absolutely love it so much. But the other thing that I love is music. I love singing, I love performing, and I had been wondering, how can I combine these two passions of mine into one thing? Because it sort of sucks to have two separate, pieces of yourself, and to try to, operate these two different things as different businesses. And so I was going, how can I possibly unite these things? And then I saw this advertisement for Tiamo's work, and that's the guy's name who runs this mastermind at Tiamo De Vittori, and he does these things called keynote concerts, which is where you are on stage giving your keynote and you combine it with music. And so sort of basically like at the end of your story that you're telling, which of course has a huge message and takeaway for the audience, you get to perform your music, your song, that really ties the whole thing together. It adds such a great level of impact, and it's so powerful. And so as I've spent the last 6 months in this mastermind learning how to do this, it's been incredible. I've grown so much. It's been really life-changing, and I'm blown away that this is really possible, that it's really possible. It's really an option that I get to do these two things that I love so much together. I get to do both of them together. And that's what I've been learning in this mastermind. And so the capstone, the sort of culmination of all the work we've been doing over the last 6 months, was the retreat for the mastermind. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was, I got home and I was like, how do I put into words what I just experienced this weekend? And I was just speechless, which for me is amazing because I talk a lot, and you know me, I could just keep going all day long. But I was speechless when I got home, and I was like, how do I describe this feeling? I just felt so like it was like more of a lack of stress. Like this huge weight lifted. And I was like, oh yeah. I got home and it was like, there's something missing. There's something missing. Normally, when I'm at home in this environment, there's a heaviness here and it's gone. And then it got to, I got home Monday morning. My flight arrived around noon and the kids were in school, so I got to come home and take a nap, which was amazing because I hardly slept the whole retreat because I was up chatting and having so much fun. And so I got to take this huge nap, and then my kids got home from school and we went on into the night, and then Josh started screaming in my face as he usually does, and that feeling started coming back and I was like, "Oh. Oh yeah. I didn't get screamed at for 3 straight days. That was really nice." I had, like, adult conversations for 3 days, and I didn't have, children screaming at me, for 3 days. That was really beautiful. But the things that we talked about and we did and the feelings and the laughter and the crying that we went through on this retreat it was so good. So the first thing I was gonna tell you, let's see, the flight. So the flight was actually quite easy. I was very worried about, like, getting through TSA, and I was worried I stressed a lot about, like, all of my makeup products and all of my, like, I have curly hair, guys, and keeping these curls intact takes products, okay? And I was really worried about, like, I found out that I could only have 1 quart-size bag of liquids, and I was like, "What? Are you kidding me right now?" Like, I knew they had to be small, but when I found out I could only have 1 quart-sized bag of liquids, I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like, I was stressing so much. Like, every night before I went to bed, I would stay up, like, an extra hour reorganizing my bag of liquids to see if it would all fit, and then paring it down and finding tinier and tinier bottles to put all of my products into. Like, I was seriously stressing. So, I made it through TSA, like, breezy, easy, so fast, and I was like, "Whoa, that was so much simpler than I thought it was gonna be." And then so the really amazing part of my flight was that I felt, I mean, it was a very simple flight. It was only an hour and 10 minutes. I think we even landed early, like, very smooth, was the takeoff. And now I actually, like, I hate roller coasters, and I hate that feeling of, like, being jerked around and being out of control. I wrote a whole song about it called Roller Coaster. And, so I hate that feeling. But when we took off, like, I really just relaxed into that feeling. I really just, like, surrendered, and I felt so, like, invigorated by that feeling of takeoff. Like, we circled the thing really slowly, and I was like, "This can't really be takeoff yet, right?" And then came that moment where the pilot just gunned it and really went for it and went full speed, and I was like, "Now that's it." And now we're taking off. And just that is so exhilarating, that feeling of going as fast as you can, and then that lift off, and then just seeing the world, because I had a window seat, which was beautiful, and I got to see the world fade away, and I was probably the only person on that whole plane with just, like, this silly, stupid grin on my face as we took off and we left, the ground, and just, like, so excited and so exhilarated and so much perspective that you get from being in an airplane and seeing the world from however many thousands of feet up in the sky you get. I don't even know what it is because I, again, haven't flown in a decade, and I don't know tons about, flying or airplanes or anything like that, but you get very far from the ground and it gives you this perspective. And one of the things that I love is hiking and going up in the mountains and getting high up, because I've reflected on this a lot, over the last few months, because we were hiking a lot over the summer and it was our goal as a family to get more exercise in and to hike every day. But I love standing on those mountains. We're lucky that we live in Utah and we have a lot of mountains and we live very close to the mountains. And being able to stand up on that high place where you can kind of distance yourself from your problems and take that eagle eye view. And it's like everything that seemed so important just doesn't have that weight anymore. It just doesn't seem so heavy anymore. And it's really so beautiful. And it's such a great metaphor. And I could probably talk about it forever because perspective is just so key. And I feel like it's almost the answer to everything. Like if we could just take a step back every single time that we are struggling, every single time that we are feeling like things are going wrong, if we could just put ourselves mentally on an airplane or mentally climb that mountain or, literally go on an airplane or literally climb a mountain, give ourselves the gift of that perspective, how incredibly beautiful that is and what a gift it would be to see our lives from 1,000 feet in the air, to see our lives from eternity, to see what really matters. So, so beautiful. And so I was flying off to Arizona from Utah with this goofy grin on my face because I felt so exhilarated by the takeoff and I was feeling so grateful for the beauty that we saw. The beauty of the earth from that perspective of that height is incredible. And like we got to see all the snow-capped mountains from above, and I'm used to seeing them from below, and to see, the lake from above was gorgeous. That was such a beautiful part of this trip, even though it didn't have anything to do a whole lot with like the actual retreat. But it was so beautiful. It was so great. So, I landed and my flight landed early and I flew out Friday morning and the retreat didn't start until Saturday. And so I had like this whole afternoon before, I needed to meet up with everyone. We were going to meet up for dinner on Friday night, but I had this whole afternoon of like, what am I going to do? And so I had some plans, guys, that I will tell you about. But before I tell you that, I went to get a rental car. And now my whole flight was only an hour and 10 minutes, but it took me an hour of standing in line to get this rental car. And the rental car was kind of a nightmare. And we had this hang up and we had a card mix up. My credit card actually expired, and I had not had a chance to get a new one yet. And so the guy behind the counter is going, you can't use this card. Like it doesn't match and you can't use this card. And I was like freaking out because I didn't know what to do. I've never rented a car myself, guys. I've never done this before. I'm 33 years old and I've never been apart. Like I've never traveled by myself. I've never been apart from my husband. I've been married. Our 15-year anniversary is November 29th. I've been attached, right? Like I've never done this before. And so I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And my poor husband was panicking. And it's one of those moments where you're like, this is something I should panic about. But when you panic in front of other people, things don't work very well because your panics them, right? Your anxiety like leaks out to other people. And it's so much better when you just trust that everything's going to be okay. And so I talked to this guy. And what was so funny was there was this moment. So again, I stood in line for the rental car for a solid hour. There was like, I got off the plane and I went to the bathroom and I looked, and there was like a mob of people trying to get rental cars. And I was like, oh my goodness, like what the heck? That's a good thing I have a whole afternoon before I have to be there. Like, oh my gosh. And my airport was 45 minutes from where I needed to be. So I actually did really need to rent a car. So I stood in line for this whole time. And then I was getting closer and closer to the front. And there was this whole, there was a whole bunch of people who were, giving out the rent a cars. There were a whole bunch of agents. And they're going, you can go to any agent. They're all trained for all the things. And I remember thinking, I hope I get that guy. Hope I get that guy. And I don't know if you know this, but when you have these thoughts, like our intentions are really powerful. Like we don't tend to think of that, but like our intentions are so powerful. So I did get that guy. Like that guy was the agent that I ended up speaking to. And he's going, you can't use my credit card expired. So I had my husband's credit card and we didn't think it was going to be a problem, but it was obviously a problem. And he's going, you can't use this card. It doesn't have your name on it. It has to all match. And I'm panicking and my husband's panicking and I'm going, okay, well, panic helps no one. I need to be calm. And so I start talking to this guy and I'm telling him, a little bit about myself as we're trying to work through the situation. And he decides in the end to be really compassionate. And he decides to kind of make it work for me and save my bacon and save my butt. And it was amazing because I just feel like I've learned so much over the last year, really. Like I've just grown so tremendously. And I knew, like from the very first moment of like, I feel like that guy is the guy that I need to talk to for this rental car before I ever knew there was a problem. And then having that guy be the guy and then having this huge problem that like could have really been really bad problem. And then trying to find alternatives and the alternatives weren't, working out very well, and just choosing my mindset. And I feel like we frequently underestimate how powerful that is. Of like, our energy affects the people around us so much. And when we choose to be calm and when we choose to like really believe that everything's going to be okay, like we kind of manifest that into our lives. Like we allow God to prove that everything really is okay and that he really is holding us, because he really is. So anyways, everything worked out with the rental car, even with the whole panic situation. It all worked out just fine. It all worked out really beautifully. And I drove out to 45 minutes away from the airport and I took myself to the movies by myself. And I went and saw The Marvels, which had just come out that day. And it was so good, you guys. And let me tell you, like, this is the second time that I've been to the movies by myself in my whole life. And it's the greatest thing ever. And like, I was like, I need more of this in my life. I never realized before how much I am aware of and how much I'm holding for other people to enjoy their movie experience when we go to the movies as a family. Like, I spend the whole time making sure my kids are not interrupting other people, making sure my husband's enjoying himself because we're spending all this money going to the movies and I want to make sure he loves it. And like, I'm taking all this responsibility on myself that I barely get to enjoy the movie. And then when I go by myself, because I actually went and saw the Barbie movie by myself, when it like 3 weeks after it came out, but I went and I sat there and it was like, I feel no responsibility. I just get to watch this and enjoy it and just be present and just feel whatever I want to feel right now without feeling responsible for other people. And it's like the theater was almost empty and it was such a beautiful gift to myself that I got to go do that. I can't even explain it. So I so highly recommend that. And now look, I have 3 kids with special needs. Like, I totally understand how, as a mom, it feels impossible to give yourself a gift like that. My oldest is 13 years old. And this is the second time, and it's been, 2 months? This is not something I've been doing for 13 years. This is something I'm only just starting to figure out and understand how to do. But giving yourself gifts like this, it makes you a better person. It makes you a better mom. Like, it helps you so much when you give yourself the gift of fun, when you give yourself the gift of just enjoying your freaking life. So I recommend it so highly, so highly. And I took myself to the movies by myself and I super recommend it. But if you don't have time for that, go do something else. Go take a walk. Hopefully by yourself if you can, 5 minutes. Even if the best you can do is to go hide out in a room for 30 seconds and take some deep breaths, like, you have to do something for you. You need it. It's so important. So I got to do that for myself. It was amazing. And then I joined everyone for dinner that night at the end of the retreat. It was so much fun to meet all of these people that I had been talking to for 6 months online. And then we met up all in person at this house, you guys. I didn't stay at the retreat house. I stayed at a little hotel with my friend, but this house, I had this thought while I was at this retreat, where I was like, this is who I am now. And this is what I want to step into, is like, I'm now the kind of person who, takes airplane flights and goes places by herself. And I'm now the kind of person who goes to the movies by myself. And I'm the kind of person who, goes to houses like this retreat house. The best way to describe it is, I lost count of how many fireplaces it had. There were 4 fireplaces in just the backyard. And I can't even tell you how many fireplaces that there were in the living room or like in the rest of the house. Cause like there were so many fireplaces. The backyard had a swimming pool and a hot tub and a pickleball court and a basketball court and an outdoor kitchen and like a playground. And it was jaw dropping, this house. Like, we saw pictures of it before we went, but like actually going there was like, oh, and it was like, this is like, I'm gonna live in a house like this someday. Like, this is gonna be my life, and I'm just gonna soak up the beauty that is this house. So we got to spend 2 days soaking up each other's energy and all the friendship and beauty and love that was at this house. And it was so amazing. And these people that I've been talking to for 6 months are the most incredible people of my life. Like, just the amount of love that was in that room would fix the world. So just so you know that, like, would fix the world. And this was such a diverse group of people. I don't think I've ever been in a room with a more diverse group of people in my whole life. Hands down. Like, I think I guess couldn't possibly be every group was represented, but like really, like such a diverse group of people. It was incredible. And we laughed together and we cried together. And it was incredible. We got to hear some of our stories being told. And there's this quote, it's attributed wrongly to Mr. Rogers. And I can't remember who actually said it, but he says that, when you hear somebody's story, you can't help but love them. And so that's what we felt as we heard, story after story, because we were giving these little mini 15-minute keynote concerts. And it was when you hear people tell their stories, like, you just love them. When you get to hear somebody be authentic and vulnerable, like, you just cannot help but love them so freaking much. It's incredible. And then to hear them sing after that, it just amps up that vulnerability 10 times. It amps up that vulnerability so much and melts all barriers. It melts your whole heart. And you're just like, I love you now. You are now integrated into as part of me. Like, I just cannot help but, like, it's an indescribable feeling. And so that's what we're doing with these keynote concerts. It's like sharing your soul with people, and then you sing. And then you sing. And then it's like, oh yeah, this is how we fix the world. That's it. Like, just mic drop. Like, this is how we do it, is we show our true colors. We show who we really, really are. And we just give, all of our love and our most vulnerable selves out there. So our Saturday was amazing. And we laughed together and we cried together, and we did this. We started our day off with this meditation that Tiamo did, who runs this. And if you're loving what I'm saying right now and you're like, I want to do keynote concerts, like, go sign up and go get in Tiamo's world and go do this, because it's incredible. So he led us in this meditation where I literally felt like my skin was crawling the whole time, like on fire. Like, I was like on, like, not in a bad way, that sounded a little bad. My skin was like on fire. Like, I felt like, I'm already a really passionate person, in case you don't know that, but I felt like I was on fire. It was like this, like, I'm like, I wish we would have recorded it, because I would love to do that meditation over and over and over again, but I don't think we were recording it. But it was just this, like, you're so powerful, and like facing your fears and imagining your fears as dragons, and like now you're taming those dragons and you're riding them. And it was very Game of Thrones in my brain to me. I don't know what everyone else was going through in their brain, but my brain was very Game of Thrones, which I've only seen a couple episodes of, but like very Game of Thrones. And it was so empowering. And so just like, oh my gosh, like, we are here to change the world. We're here to own it. And it was just like we ended that meditation. It was like, yeah, oh yeah, we can do anything. Like, we could do absolutely anything. So great. So we had that day and it was so much fun.
We're going to pause here for just a second so I can tell you that I love podcasting so much that I'm actually starting a second show called Podcast Like a Mother, the show where I'm going to teach you how to podcast in an easy, fun, sustainable way with short 20-minute or less episodes with searchable titles that are going to teach you all the basics of podcasting. Really easy, really fun. It's going to be absolutely amazing. So go check out Podcast Like a Mother. And now back to the show.
Podcast Like a Mother. It's your turn. It's your turn. Stop playing small.
All right. So day 2 of my retreat was so incredible. I broke open in a way it's kind of indescribable. You know how when you grow, it's kind of, you have to stretch. You kind of have to break open and discover parts of you that you didn't really realize existed in order to like reach your next level. Well, that's what happened to me on day 2 of my retreat. We started out the day and we decided that we were going to talk about money because that is something that so many people are struggling with. It's something that all of us really were excited to dive into because we all wanted to improve our money mindset, which, hello, I was all in for. I was like, yes, please, money mindset work. And so we did this amazing exercise where we actually paired off with each other and we talked to each other as if we were money. And I'm gonna get personal here, and I'll. This is the part that really, broke me open, was this whole exercise here, and it was deep, guys. It was really deep for me, and so we paired off. And I spoke to this amazing woman, Lisa, as if she were money. And it was supposed to be me, talking to money and expressing how I really felt. And I'll tell you what, it's a heck of an exercise. I said, you know what, money, you've really disappointed me. I've worked my tail off for you. I have done everything for you for years and years and years, and you've never been there for me. And I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of this relationship because over and over and over again, you just disappoint me. And it was so powerful, guys. Oh my gosh, so powerful. And then we came back and we met together and we discussed, is that really the kind of relationship? If you were on the other side of that, would you want to come back to that relationship? The person who was money, spoke up and was like, how did you feel when you were money in the exchange there? When you sat there silently being called out, in this way, how did it make you feel? And a lot of people were going, yeah, I don't want to be in that relationship. I want to run away. And it's like, of course, the way that we've been treating money our whole lives, it's probably not very good. It's probably not a very healthy relationship, is it? Probably not. And so then we went back outside, we split back up, and we did this again, except for this time, the goal was to talk to money and talk about the future. How do we want our future relationship with money to be? And this was really hard for me, and I made some agreements. And I said, okay, money, I've realized that I haven't trusted you for a long time. haven't trusted you. You broke my heart, so I haven't trusted you. And it's time to rebuild that trust. I'm gonna set a seat at the table for you, and I'm going to trust that you're going to come back when you're ready. I'm going to leave the door open, and I'm going to set a seat at the table for you, and I'm going to let you come when you're ready. And I'm just going to trust that you're going to be here, and I'm just going to let you come. And I'm not going to force you to come, and I'm not going to demand that you come, and I'm not going to insist upon it. And I'm just going to let you come when you're ready. And it was really powerful. So then we came back inside and we were talking about this again and discussing our experiences. And Tiamo, again, guys, he's amazing. You should go follow him. He has a pretty unique name, so I'm sure he won't be hard to find. He told this story of a friend of his who is a millionaire, and she came to his birthday party, and she said she gave him a birthday present, and he opened it up, and it was a book, and it was fun. They were having a birthday party, and after he opened the present, she came up to him and she asked him a weird question, and she said, "Would you and your wife take me in for a month if I lost everything? If I lost all my money, would you guys take me in for a month? Would you let me live with you and your family?" And he was saying, of course, like, we're friends, of course. And she said, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I've asked all my friends this, and now I have 3 years of friend equity. And now I don't have to worry about money anymore." And it was really beautiful and really, really touching. Because one of the things with money is it's not just people who don't have money who struggle with it. It's also people who do have money. They worry about losing it. And I realized in my own life, oh my gosh, that's totally true. Money is not just a source of stress when it's absent. It's also a source of stress when it's present. So how do I ease that feeling of stress around money? I want to have a healthy relationship with money, right? I want it to be, an easy, flowing, loving relationship. So this was really a powerful story. And then he had us all stand up if we were willing to house each other if other people in the group should lose all their money. And this is the part where I kind of had a hard time. I was more than willing to house anybody there. Like, we were all we'd become such a tight-knit family over the course of this 2-day retreat. Like, it was like we were, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. Like, we just cried together and loved each other so much by the end of this. So everyone stood up and volunteered to house each other if, the worst should happen and one of us should go broke. And so he had us all looking around at each other going, okay, if something happens and you lose all your money and you lose your home, you now have 17 different places that you can stay. You have 17 months of friend equity. And that's not even including like your family and other friends. That's just the people in this room. You have 17 places you can stay. And I kind of broke down crying for a totally different reason than you're going to think. I was totally ready and willing to take in every single person in that room. And we've done it before. Actually, we've had friends live with us on numerous occasions. But the idea of my family living with somebody else just tore me to shreds, because I felt like my family was too much of a burden to put on anybody else in that room. And so we actually went for a break right at that time when I was starting to have my little meltdown. And I ran off to the bathroom, and there was a line of us waiting for the bathroom, and one of the guys was in line behind me, and he started talking to me, and I just like held a finger up, and I was like, nope, nope, don't talk to me. And he's like, oh no. And I'm like, no, no, no. And he's like, oh no, what's wrong? And he tried to give me a hug, and I like could not. And I like burst into tears like on the spot. And luckily the bathroom opened up right then, and I was able to like duck in the bathroom, and I sort of kind of was able to compose myself in the bathroom. Like, that like really tentative, like real iffy, like poke me with a stick, I'm gonna burst back apart kind of way. Like, guys, you should know I am not a crier. I have this really great skill of like telling really sad stories on stage and looking like I'm about to cry, but really I'm totally pulled together. And like I've had times where my husband has seen me give speeches, and he comes rushing up to me afterward going, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Because he thinks I'm about to break down and cry, but I'm totally together. Like I have this skill of looking like I'm about to cry, and I can just look like I'm there, but not really be there. I guess you could call it acting, which sounds really bad, but I'm really good at that. When I'm giving speeches and when I'm telling a sad story, like I can get there and I can make it look, I can really feel it in my voice without feeling it in my body and like actually melting down. But at this moment, like I'm not a crier. You could probably tell because I wear so much makeup. Like it was funny because someone said that to me later. I was such a mess. Like I was such a mess. So we came out of our it was only like a 5-minute break or something. And we came out of our break and we all went back and sat in our seats. And I'm sitting there just like, I wasn't like sobbing loudly. I was like sitting in my chair, like so quiet. And I guess if you know me, then you know that like I have this energy. I have this like aura that I give off of just like sunshine and energy all the time. And you could probably feel it right now through the microphone of just like me. I have a big presence and a big energy. And I'm sitting there just like entirely different. I'm trying to be as small as possible, knowing that if I totally disappeared, everyone would notice. Because there's like 17 people at this retreat, right? It wasn't like a huge retreat. There's like 17 of us. So I'm like, if I disappear, everyone's gonna notice. I'm not sobbing loudly, but I can't stop my eyes from just like leaking everywhere. So I'm just like dabbing my eyes with a tissue. And I'm sitting there trying to be inconspicuous, but my lack of energy was so conspicuous. And what was funny is that like later on, Tiamo came and told me that like he was sitting up there trying to talk to all of us, having this like discussion in his head about me because he could just see me. Like it was so obvious. Like, does he address the elephant in the room that is Karaleigh sobbing right there? So after like 5 or 10 minutes of him going on and continuing what he was talking about, he finally is like, okay, Karaleigh, talk to us. Like, what's happening? And I'm not really shy. I don't really do well at like keeping things. So yeah, as soon as he like poked, me, I just melted. And he's like, yeah, tell us what's going on. So I told them all I'm going, this is supposed to be about money, but for me, it was about my family, and they all know, they know my family, and I've got my kiddos, and I'm going, I just couldn't bear to put that burden on you guys. And like immediately, I'm not even sure who it was, and maybe they'll listen to this and tell me who it was, but somebody immediately was behind me with their arms around me. Like immediately. I immediately had arms around me. I was immediately embraced in a huge hug. And like, this is, I don't know how to describe this, but this is a moment that I'm going to come back to over and over and over again for the rest of my life. The love in that room was so palpable. It was so palpable. And it was this part of me that's going, I don't want anybody to see me, breaking apart and crying here. I don't want anybody to know this, because we'd spent this whole retreat, Tiamo with his gorgeous family and his beautiful little daughter was there. I think she's like 6 years old, and she's just bouncing around the house, and he's talking about how he is running his business with his family right there. And we got to meet his wife and his daughter, and he's got this gorgeous family. And like, guys, I love my family. My family's gorgeous too. I'm not saying that. It just felt in that moment like such a contrast to me of like, I don't know how I could do that, because when I'm with my family, I constantly feel like I'm on edge trying to keep Joshua from smashing things and screaming penis all the time. Like, that's my life. Like, I'm trying to keep my kids from killing each other all the time, because my boys just want to wrestle each other. Not wrestle. I mean, like, they're actually trying to straight up throw punches. Like, wrestling makes it sound like it's like a fun game. It's not a fun game. Like, they're trying to hurt each other. And like, Josh keeps smashing windows and it's messy, I guess, is my point. My family's beautiful. I love my family, but they are messy. They're messy. And I was in this gorgeous house, this amazingly beautiful, stunning house, surrounded by these amazing people, and Diamo and his beautiful family, trying to imagine my messy life somehow in the midst of this. And then, oh man, and I'm gonna cry here, and for reals, I'm not a crier. They embraced my messiness so fully. They just embraced it without any ifs, ands, or buts, without any qualms. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced in my life. These people who I've been getting to know over the last 6 months, who saw me in the most real, raw way, in a way that most people don't really see me. Most people get to see, I know, I'm sitting here crying, like actually wiping tears away. Most people see me put together. And as much as I try to talk about hard stuff on this podcast, I don't actually think I talk that much about the actual hard parts of my life that much. To protect my kids, to protect my family, they don't need their dirty laundry aired. That's not fair to them. Right. it's not fair to them. So it's not, I don't know. Life is hard. And in that moment, I let it all show, and they accepted it and loved me anyway. And so the point that I want to make here is that we are so afraid to show the world our messiness. We're so afraid to show up authentically and raw and real and ugly and messy and true. But people need that from us. People want that from us. And people will love us in our mess. People will love us in our mess if we give them the chance to. But really, really often we don't give them the chance to show up. There are so many people, so many amazing, incredible people who will be there and who will show up and who will stand up to cheer you on if you give them the chance. But they can't if you don't give them the chance. They can't if you don't first let them in. And I'm totally guilty of not really letting people in. And so I'll tell you the truth, there were moments in there where I was feeling embarrassed of my family and of my life. And I don't want to feel that way because I love my family. I really, really do. But it is messy and it is imperfect. And I know that I'm not the only one who feels that way. So I'm sitting here sharing about it. None of us leads a perfect life. None of us is living a mess-free life. None of, it's all, there's chaos all around. And the more that you share the mess and the chaos and shine anyway, shine through it, the more you give other people permission to do the same, which is what I'm striving to do here. And you know what? I'll tell you, it's not easy. It's really not easy to, it's not easy to show up when you feel small. It's not easy. But the more that we can keep doing it, even though it's not easy, even though it's uncomfortable, and the more that we can keep growing, even though it feels more like a stretch that hurts, we're giving our kids that example, and they need that example that it's okay to be their whole, beautiful, messy, chaotic selves. It's okay to be all of you. Because there are people who will love all of you. And that's what I learned. That's what I learned at my retreat. It was beautiful. And that whole day it was painful to go there. It was painful to open up to the deep, dark parts of myself. I don't like crying in front of people. I don't like crying in front of myself. And I did. I went there. I went to the hardest parts of myself, and it was so good for me. It was so, so good for me. Life-changing. Because, It's easy to look at that expression and be like, we overuse it too much. But you know what? Our life changes in small increments, piece by piece by piece. That's how our life changes. A little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there. We grow, we grow, we grow, we stretch. That's how it works. So yeah, it was life-changing. It was amazing. And the feeling of love that I felt that day when I just broke open and melted down. I can barely look at the pictures from that day without crying. I feel so much love for the people that were in that room that day. So much love. So we finished off that day and we heard amazing, beautiful words, and we all sang together and we danced together, and it was such a beautiful retreat. It was so beautiful. And then I got to fly home and I got to see my beautiful family. And I got to take a big, huge nap because I didn't get a lot of sleep while I was on that retreat. And that's all right. It was worth it. And my amazing husband let me take a big fat nap when I got home, even though he missed me so much and wished I had spent a bunch of time with him. It was such a beautiful experience. And I hope that the lessons that I learned during that retreat, I hope that you got something from it. I really hope that you did. I hope there was something in there that helped you to grow in some way.
Thank you for listening to that story. It means so much to me, that experience, and getting to live through it and getting to listen to it and have it recorded, because really podcasting is such a legacy, and it really is amazing to have that recorded and to have those thoughts saved in this amazing format. It's so meaningful, it's so powerful. And again, like, I feel like I say this a lot now that I'm again doing a second podcast to teach other people how to podcast, but like, podcasting is a legacy, and it's so important to share our stories. It's important for the next generation. It's important for all of the lives that we get to touch with our stories. They are so important. They are so powerful. All right, so here are my favorite takeaways. Number 1, being able to stand up on that high place where you can distance yourself from your problems and take that eagle-eye view. It's like everything that seemed so important just doesn't have that weight anymore. It doesn't seem so heavy anymore. Perspective is so key. Number 2, if we could just take a step back every single time we are struggling, every single time we feel like things are going wrong, if we could give ourselves the gift of perspective, it would be so beautiful to see our lives from 1,000 feet in the air, to see our lives from eternity, to see what really matters. Number 3, our energy affects the people around us so much. And when we choose to be calm and choose to really believe that everything is going to be okay, we manifest that into our lives. We allow God to prove that everything is going to be okay and that He really is holding us. Number 4, when you hear people tell their stories, you just love them. When you hear somebody be vulnerable and authentic, you just love them so freaking much. And then to hear them sing after that, it just amps up that vulnerability 10 times. It melts all barriers. It melts your heart. Oh yeah, this is how we fix the world. Number 5, we are so afraid to show the world our messiness. We are so afraid to show up authentically and raw and real and ugly and messy and true, but people need that from us. People want that from us, and people will love us in our mess. People will love us in our mess if we give them the chance to. Number 6, none of us leads a perfect life. None of us is leading a mess-free life. There is chaos all around, and the more that you share the mess and the chaos and shine anyway, shine through it, the more that you give other people permission to do the same. Our life changes. Oh, sorry. Nope. Number 7. Just keep going. Number 7. Our life changes in small increments, piece by piece by piece. That's how our life changes. A little bit here, a little bit there. We grow, we stretch. That's how it works. Guys, podcasting is amazing because I get to show up messy. I get to show up imperfect. I get to sit here and record in my car outside of gymnastics while somebody gets in the car next to me and drives away. I'm not totally sure how much of that you could hear, but that is life, and that is what is happening, and it's okay. We get to show up messy, and that was even part of the quotes that I just read, is how we get to show up in our messiness and be loved anyway. Okay? We get to show up messy, and we get to be loved in our messiness. And if that can be true for me, then it can be true for you too. So I know I already had a little ad in there about Podcast Like a Mother, but it is very much top of mind right now for me because Podcast Like a Mother officially launches on Monday, and it's amazing, and it's little teeny short episodes. They're not over an hour like this one is. It's little teeny tiny episodes to show you that you really can do this too. You can share your voice, and your story is needed, and it can be really easy. It can be as easy as sitting in your car outside of gymnastics, talking to your phone, voice memo notes, which is exactly what I'm doing right now, and it gets to be easy. So I, of course, want to encourage all of you to start a podcast because your voice is needed, and your stories are needed, and your message is needed. It's important for you to leave this legacy for your kids and your families and for yourselves. My confidence has grown absolutely tremendously since starting my podcast, because when you podcast, you practice. You practice putting your voice out there, and there is nothing like practicing to help you grow. So that is the end of my little spiel for today. I love you guys so much. I hope that if you enjoyed this show that you will share it with somebody and share with them, at least share a takeaway with them. Share with somebody that they can be loved in their messiness. Because I feel like we all need that message so much. I shared this episode today, like these stories, for a reason. Because these are the messages I want you guys to hear about perspective and about storytelling and about showing up as you are, and that you deserve love just exactly as you are right now. That's why I share the story of my retreat, not to be like, yay, I went on a retreat. To show you all those lessons that I learned. That's why I shared this today. Because those are lessons that all of us need every day. We need to know how lovable we are and how worthy we are, how enough we are. And we need to remember it over and over and over again. So just, if you know anyone who needs that message, which you probably do, because I feel like we really all need that message, share this episode or share a takeaway with them, or even just text them and tell them that. We all need it. We need it so badly. So I'm going to leave you with a song. It is from my Christmas album. My Christmas album is called Wonder, and it is on all streaming platforms if you want to go check it out. The rest of the album, it's a really short album. So anyways, that's what the song is from. So have an amazing day. I love you so much.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourns in lonely exile here, until thy Son of God appear. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come thou dayspring, come and cheer our spirits by thine advent here. Disperse the gloomy clouds of night, and death's dark shadows put to flight. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come thou rod of Jesse free, thine own from Satan's tyranny. From depths of hell thy people save, and give them victory o'er the grave. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, desire of nations, bind in one the hearts of all mankind. Bid thou our sad division cease, and be thyself our King of peace. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come